I had just lost my job when I decided to hike the Appalachian Trail. It felt like a good way to clear my head. I thought the fresh air and the beauty of nature would help me find some peace. It was early summer, and the day I left the small town in Virginia was clear and bright. But as I drove up to the trailhead, I saw that sign warning about missing hikers. It had been up for weeks. I felt a chill creep down my spine, but I pushed it aside and focused on what lay ahead. I grabbed my supplies, feeling the weight of my backpack settle on my shoulders. It was heavy, but I welcomed the challenge. The first night, I set up my tent in a small clearing. The quiet around me was thick and heavy, just me and the woods. Around midnight, I heard something. Was it voices? They drifted through the trees, low and whispery. My heart raced. I told myself it was nothing, maybe other campers, but I hadn't seen another soul all day. I crawled back into my sleeping bag, trying to shake off the unease. The next day I hiked deeper into the woods. The trail was stunning, but soon I stumbled upon something strange. Abandoned gear lay scattered on the ground around me. A backpack was half buried in leaves, and a pair of hiking boots sat nearby. They looked fresh, but they weren't worn at all. Why would someone leave their stuff behind? A shiver ran down my back. I felt like someone was watching me. It made me uneasy. I wanted to turn back, but I pushed on. My phone had no service. I kept thinking about that sign warning about missing hikers. The whispers returned. They felt louder, surrounding me, like the trees were alive. What were they saying? I tried to listen, but I couldn't make out any words. The rustling in the bushes made my heart race faster. I stopped in a small clearing. I took a deep breath, hoping to calm myself. Then I heard it again. "Why are you here?" It was clear, as if the woods were speaking right to me. I froze, glancing around. I thought I saw movement off to the side. I spun around, but nobody was there. Just the trail stretching back into the shadows. I felt a wave of cold wash over me. There was something wrong. What happened to the other hikers? Was I next? Panic clawed at me, pulling me back toward the direction I had come from. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind. It felt wrong to be out there alone. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I felt trapped. I took a step back. The world around me felt alive. The trees seemed to lean closer, almost whispering secrets I didn't understand. "Why are you here?" The question lingered, and I knew I had to get out. Fast. But as I turned to run, a shadow darted through the trees. It was gone before I could focus, but I could feel its presence. My heart raced. I was not alone. I took a shuddering breath and forced my feet to move, retracing my steps along the narrow path. The whispers faded slightly but lingered on the edges of my hearing, as if the woods were murmuring their secrets just out of reach. My mind raced with questions. Who else had been here? What had happened to them? As I hurried, a sense of urgency pushed me forward. I needed to find other hikers, or, at the very least, a place I could feel safe. I didn't look back as I walked, keeping my eyes fixed ahead. The trail twisted and turned, each bend mocking me with the threat of what could be hiding just beyond. That's when I heard it again, the faint rustling. My heart thudded. I brushed it off as an animal, but the thought did little to ease my mind. What if it wasn't? I quickened my pace, desperate to make it back to that clearing by nightfall. Then the sunlight dipped, casting long, dark shadows across the ground. I fumbled for my phone, but it was still useless. No signal to call for help, no way to check a map. Anxiety coiled tightly in my chest. The whispers picked up again, this time clear in their cadence. "Help us." I stopped, frozen as a chill ran down my spine. Who were they? I felt the heaviness of the atmosphere squeezing around me. I shook my head, willing the sensation away, yet it clung to me like the damp air. "Help us," I whispered under my breath. Was it really a plea or just the echo of my own fears? I pushed forward, trying to shake off the nagging sensation that I was being followed. It felt wrong to be alone, and I needed to find safety. Eventually I stumbled upon a trail marker, a bright yellow tag strapped to a tree. It gave me a flicker of hope. I could at least keep my bearings now, I thought. but something caught my eye at the base of the tree. It was a carved name. Eric, the letters etched deep into the bark, accompanied by the date of a year long gone. I squatted down and found a small memento, a weathered bracelet with an inscription barely legible. Never stop climbing. I felt a shiver creep through me. Who was Eric? Had he come this way and never returned? My hands trembled as I ran my fingers over the cool, carved letters. I was beginning to feel tethered to these lost souls, each carved name a warning. Just as I stood up, a loud crack echoed through the trees, breaking the eerie stillness. My heart raced again as I spun around, eyes scanning the darkening forest. I could feel something watching me, not just behind me, but everywhere. I took off down the trail, my mind flooded with panic, then everything went dark. A sudden rush of silence pressed in. I stumbled, unsure of my footing, and hit the ground hard. The world faded into shadow, and for a brief moment, I couldn't tell if I was awake or if I had joined the whispers. I tried to regain my bearings, my breath ragged. Then I heard it again, clearer, more insistent. Join us. I crawled back to my feet, determination flooding my veins. The woods were alive with an energy I didn't understand, but it wouldn't claim me. Not today. I pushed onward, the trail ahead flickering in the half-light. I had to get out before the forest claimed another name to that tree. I stumbled deeper into the woods, branches clawing at my arms like desperate hands. My mind raced as I calculated every step. I had to keep moving. Every rustle of leaves felt like a taunt, urging me to turn back, but I refused. Then I spotted a flickering light in the distance. Hope welled within me. The darkness of the trees seemed less threatening, and the whispers softened to an almost comforting hum. I quickened my pace toward the light, imagining a nearby campsite or another hiker who could help. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. As I got closer, the glow grew brighter. It enveloped a small clearing, and my heart felt a mix of excitement and fear. I stepped into the light, ready to call out, but the words caught in my throat. What lay before me was not what I expected. In the center of the clearing, I found a ring of stones surrounding a fire pit. The air held an odd stillness, too quiet for comfort. But it was not the empty fire pit that caught my attention. It was the tattered remnants of old camping gear scattered about. Tents with holes, worn backpacks, and a faded map, its edges frayed. I picked up the map, my hands trembling. It wasn't just old, it was alien. Filled with routes I couldn't recognize and marks where names had been crossed out or circled repeatedly. My stomach twisted at the sight. It was as if someone had tried to escape a terrible fate. Then I noticed something else. A shape crouched by the fire pit, hidden almost completely by shadows. I squinted through the dimness, heart racing. "Hello?" I called. My voice trembled, echoed by the trees. The figure turned, and my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't a hiker like I had hoped. Instead, it was a young woman with hollow eyes, dirt smudged across her face. She looked lost. "Help us," she whispered. Something in her tone sent a cold shiver through my core. There was an urgency in her plea, a desperation that was palpable. My instincts screamed at me to run, yet curiosity held me there. "Who are you?" I managed to ask. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could answer, a sharp crack broke through the stillness, more pronounced than before. I turned instinctively, scanning the perimeter of the clearing. The shadows seemed to shift, growing darker. "Stay close to the fire," she urged, her voice trembling now. "They don't like it." I felt a chill race down my spine. The whispers returned, louder and more insistent, merging with the sounds of my heartbeat. "Help us," they chanted, as if the forest itself had come alive, demanding attention. I looked back at the girl. What had happened to her? How long had she been here? "We need to leave," I said, edging closer to her. "There must be a path out of here." But her eyes widened in terror. "No, you don't understand. They can't follow you if you stay." Confusion washed over me. Who were they? My urge to flee clashed with her pleading gaze. Suddenly I heard the rustling again, closer this time. The tension in the air thickened. "Join us," the forest seemed to whisper, wrapping around me like a noose. I stepped back instinctively, trying to digest the fear that was threatening to consume me. A new mad panic surged through me. I had to make a choice, but time was running out. My instinct screamed at me to leave, yet something invisible tethered me to that clearing. The girl's wide eyes filled with desperation, and the surrounding whispers grew louder, clawing at my sanity. I felt trapped, but I couldn't abandon her. "Why can't we just leave?" I pressed, glancing nervously at the dark edges of the forest. The rustling was now accompanied by soft, slithering noises, like creatures moving just beyond my sight. "What are they?" She hesitated, swallowing hard. "They know when we think about escaping. They feed on our fear, our hope. If you leave, you bring them with you. If you stay, they may let you be." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implications I shuddered to consider. I stepped closer to the fire, the warmth a small comfort against the chill creeping into my bones. "How long have you been here? What happened to everyone else?" The girl's shoulders sagged. "They came one night in the fog. We didn't see them until it was too late." A tremor passed through her as she spoke. "One by one, they disappeared. Taken." I felt a sickening wave of nausea. Every part of me wanted to bolt, but the fear in her eyes softened the urge. "I can't just leave you," I said, forcing the words out. "We can figure this out together. There must be a way to fight them." Her face twisted with anguish. "You don't understand. They don't want to fight. They want despair. They want you to lose hope." Just then the rustling intensified. I froze, heart pounding as the shadows around the clearing thickened. "Stay by the fire," she yelled, but it felt too late. From the darkness something emerged. A dark shape, indistinct yet imposing, moved just beyond the outer ring of stones. My breath caught in my throat. "I'm not afraid of you," I shouted, desperation springing forth. But even as the words left my mouth, doubt slithered in. What if I was wrong? The figure paused, tilting its head as if considering my challenge. It was then I noticed the eyes, glowing, unnatural, filled with an unsettling hunger. A low growl rumbled in the air, a sound that vibrated through my bones. Panic surged through me, pushing me toward a decision. We need to get to the edge of the clearing. If we can just reach the trees. "No!" the girl shouted, reaching out to stop me. "If you break the boundary, you might not come back." But the growling escalated, and with it the whispered chants transformed into a cacophony, drowning out my thoughts. "Help us," they echoed, the forest alive with a desperate plea. I looked from the girl to the figure waiting just outside the light. The air felt electric, thick with a tension that promised danger. I had to act, but what choice did I have? And just as I formed a plan, the ground beneath us trembled. That's when I saw it, a glimmer of silver in the dirt nearby, partially hidden from view. An object? A weapon? I surged toward it, the girl's plea trailing behind me as shadows closed in around us. I reached for the glimmering object, feeling a rush of hope. My fingers brushed against the cold metal. It was a dagger, its blade gleaming even in the dim light of the fire. Maybe this could help us, I thought. My heart raced as I gripped it tightly, ready to defend ourselves. The girl's eyes widened. "No, you don't understand. It won't work on them." Her voice was frantic, almost drowned out by the deep growls that reverberated through the trees. "It's not a normal fight. It's what they want us to do." I glanced back at the boundary where the figure loomed. Its glowing eyes locked onto me, eager. A pulse of fear washed over me as I realized the whispers had turned into a roaring choir, urging me to surrender. "We can't let them take us," I insisted, adrenaline fueling my determination. "We have to try something. I won't abandon you." But another shudder coursed through the ground, and the dark figure shifted closer, revealing more of itself. Sharp claws, a mouth lined with jagged teeth, and a maw that seemed to stretch impossibly wide. I felt paralyzed as that hideous sight anchored a new wave of terror deep within me. Just as I thought I might break, the girl grabbed my wrist tightly. "Listen, you've got to believe me. The dagger won't save you. You need to focus. They'll twist your mind if you let them. Fight against it." I swallowed hard, nodding slowly, fighting to clear my thoughts. It was a war on two fronts, one of survival, and the other, the creeping despair trying to pull me under. "What do we do then?" I asked, desperate for clarification. "We can't let them sense our fear. We need to create a barrier using our hope. Anything that brings us strength," she urged, her gaze unwavering. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, a shrill shriek split the air, echoing through the trees, rattling my bones. The shadows rolled forward, as if they were a hungry tide, ready to consume us both. I gripped the dagger, feeling its weight as reassurance. "Now!" I yelled. "What do we do now?" "Stand together," she cried. "Focus on the light we still have." I turned to face the darkness, holding the dagger high. The fire crackled behind me, lending a flicker of strength to my wavering heart. As I stood there, I felt an ember of courage spark within. "I won't be afraid," I shouted into the void. The figure hesitated, its echoing growl faltering. A glimmer of uncertainty flickered in its eyes. I sensed our collective hope resonating, pushing against the suffocating despair it radiated. But that moment didn't last long. A sharp pain shot through my side as the shadows clawed at me, fiercely and without hesitation, dragging me back toward the unknown. I gasped, losing my footing. The dagger slipped from my hand, clattering futilely to the ground. "Help!" I screamed, reaching for the girl, my heart pounding. I could see the fear mirrored in her eyes as the shadows coiled around me, ready to take me. Just then, something tugged at my mind. An image flashed, a fleeting memory of the girl smiling in sunlight, laughing. And in that moment a thought struck me with clarity. It was about finding the light within. But would it be enough? The shadows tightened around me, pulling me into their cold depths. I fought against the grip, my body thrashing, desperate to break free. But it felt like wading through molasses. I locked eyes with the girl, her face a mix of panic and resolve. In that moment, I knew I had to believe her. "Think of the light," she shouted, urgency lacing her voice. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block everything out but the memory of her laughter. I focused on that fleeting moment, the sunlight dancing on her face, bright and warm. Slowly I felt something shift within me. A warmth started at my core, spreading to my limbs. The shadows, sensing the change, shrieked in anger, their icy grip loosening. "Yes!" the girl urged, her voice an anchor amid the chaos. "Let it grow! We can push them back!" I felt a flicker of light pulse within me, emboldening every part of my being. "I won't be afraid," I roared again, the sound shaking off the remaining dread. And as I opened my eyes, a soft glow began to emanate from my chest, pushing against the darkness. The shadows hissed as they recoiled, and I could see the figure faltering at the sudden surge of light. I blinked in disbelief at the warmth filling the space between us, a protective dome encasing us from the onslaught. But then I heard it, a sinister whisper creeping back into my mind like a snake. "So much potential wasted," it taunted. "You think fear can be banished so easily?" My heart raced as I tried to ignore it, to focus on the light, but its voice wrapped around my thoughts, squeezing tighter. "Fight it!" the girl screamed, snapping me back to the moment. I nodded, pushing against the temptation to surrender to despair. I could feel her strength merging with mine, our hope solidifying like a wall around us. I took a deep breath and raised my hands. "We won't give in," I shouted. "We're stronger than you." The glow intensified, illuminating the darkness and banishing the shadows momentarily. The figure roared in fury, clawing at the light. I knew we had to keep it up, but the strain was already taking its toll. "Hold on!" the girl cried, and I could see her energy flicker too. "Can you hear them?" Strained to listen. The whispers were still there, but now I could make out the cries of others, muffled but present. "Help us!" echoed in the distance, a chorus of souls lost to the shadows. "Find us!" "Wait!" It struck me like lightning. "They're trapped like us. We can free them." My heart raced with purpose. If I could channel not just our hope, but their collective desire for freedom, perhaps we could break the barrier between here and the darkness. "Can you see them?" I asked the girl, urgency flooding my voice. "We need to reach them." "Follow the light," she urged, her eyes wide. connect with their hope. With that, I focused on the glow around me, willing it to stretch beyond myself. The light surged outward, sparking with electricity. It reached into the shadows, illuminating the silhouettes of lost souls, their eyes wide with terror but flickering with a hint of recognition. But suddenly, a new threat surfaced as the figure lunged forward, sharp claws aiming directly at us. The darkness twisted, ready to consume not just me but everyone connected to our light. "Stay with me," the girl yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. That's when I realized it wasn't just about finding the light within. It was about igniting the flames of hope in others. And there was still so much darkness to fight. The figure lunged again, closer this time. I could see every jagged edge of its claws, reeking of malice. My heart thundered in my chest, but I refused to cower now. The girl beside me was trembling, and I quickly grabbed her hand, knowing we had to share this fight together. "We won't let you take us," I shouted, squeezing her hand tightly. The warmth of my glowing light coursed through our hands, weaving our strength together. I concentrated on the flickering silhouettes of the lost souls, urging them to join us, to link their hope to our light. "Velas," I called out, my voice straining, "we're reaching for you." The brightness surged again, and for a moment I swore I could see their faces clearer. Their eyes shone with a hesitant spark of defiance. It was a fragile flame, but it was there. The figure hissed, a deep, guttural sound that made my skin crawl. It slammed its claws against the edge of our light, causing a violent ripple to spread through the barrier. I faltered as the shockwave hit me. Pain radiated through my arms, a reminder of the strength this creature possessed. "Keep it steady," the girl urged, breathing hard. "Focus on the light." In that moment, the whispers returned, louder and more urgent. I could feel the desperation of those trapped souls. "Help us," they cried. "Free us from this darkness." I could see them more clearly now, flickering shadows reaching out, their faces contorted in fear and longing. "We can do this," I yelled to the girl, determination flooding my veins. "We need to push harder." I gathered every ounce of strength I had, pouring it into the light. The glow brightened, its warmth enveloping the dark edges until I felt the pressure lift, if only slightly. Suddenly the air shifted. I sensed a change deeper in the shadows. What if the figure was only a part of a greater darkness? I couldn't shake the thought as it nagged at my mind. "Are there more?" I whispered, casting a nervous glance around us. The girl met my gaze, understanding the fear etched on my face. "We need to focus. We can't let ourselves be distracted. Remember the laughter, the joy." She squeezed my hand tighter, and I felt my heart synchronize with hers. But just then the shadows converged, a tidal wave of darkness crashing against our feeble shield. I could feel it like ice creeping up my legs, threatening to pull me back into that abyss. "No," I yelled, my voice breaking. "We're not giving in." The light flared more than before, and I could sense the lost souls gathering closer, feeding off our determination. But as the figure gave another fierce screech, an explosion of darkness erupted around us. A shockwave hit, and the light flickered violently, threatening to go out. "Hold on, don't let go," the girl cried out, her voice a lifeline. But just then I noticed something amid the chaos, a dim light shifting in the distance. "Look!" I gasped, pointing frantically. "There's more light!" The shimmering beacon offered a glimpse of hope against the vast expanse of darkness, and it ignited a spark of courage within me. "The others are fighting too," I shouted, realization washing over me. "We have to join them." That's when everything shattered into pieces. The surrounding shadows coiled tighter, and out of that whirl of chaos, the figure lunged once more ferocious than before. I closed my eyes, feeling the pull of darkness intensify, and in that moment, I knew I had to make a choice. I had to trust that light. I opened my eyes, filled with a newfound resolve. The darkness loomed around us like a living entity, but now it felt different. The distant light sparkled like a distant star in a vast night sky, steady and unwavering. I could sense the lost souls gathering their strength, and it ignited something inside me. "Let's move," I shouted, feeling a rush of adrenaline push me forward. I pulled the girl along, our hands still tightly clasped. Together we darted toward the flickering beacon, weaving through the darkness that clawed at our heels, scratching at the edges of our light. As we ran, shadows twisted and turned, forming shapes that seemed to flicker with life. With every step, their whispers grew more frantic. "Help us! Help us!" they screamed, voices mingling with the howls of the figure behind us. I glanced back, my heart racing. The creature was gaining on us, its claws gleaming in the dimness, and panic swelled within me. "Faster," I urged, tugging the girl along as firmly as I could. She nodded, determination replacing her earlier fear, and together we surged forward. The light grew brighter with each step we took, illuminating our path. But I knew we had to reach it before the darkness swallowed us whole. Then as we neared the flickering light, it brightened further, revealing other figures just like us. They were filled with light, warm, glowing energy that radiated hope. I spotted a boy and a woman, their hands raised high, shimmering with power. The figure chasing us screeched, its fury magnified. "Join us, we can defeat it together," I shouted, raising my own light into the air. Their eyes met mine, and for the first time, I felt a connection, an unspoken agreement that we were in this fight together. But just as hope surged within me, the barrier of light flickered and dimmed. I could feel the shadow trying to seep through. Desperation clawed at my chest. "No, don't let it in," I yelled, fighting to keep our light alive. The girl beside me inhaled sharply, and I could sense her fear creeping back in. "What if we fail?" she whispered, her voice shaking. But when I looked into her eyes, I knew we had already faced that darkness. It wouldn't have us. "Remember the laughter, the joy," I insisted, echoing her words from moments before. "We're not backing down." I closed my eyes and drew upon every good memory I had. The times spent with friends, the warmth of the sun, laughter shared around a campfire. I poured that energy into the growing light, willing it to expand. Then everything shifted again. The howl of the figure increased, an earth-shattering roar that echoed in my bones. The group around us faltered, visibly shaken. "It's too strong," they cried out. Suddenly, a shadow lunged forward from the darkness. This time it didn't stop. I stumbled backward, fear gripping me like a vice. Then I saw it, something deeper in the shadows, swaying like smoke. A twisting form that felt alive. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just a fight against a creature. There were forces beyond it, layers of darkness we hadn't seen yet. I gasped. "We have to fight together or we'll be lost." As I shouted, I felt my heart beat in time with the glowing figures around us, their warmth reigniting my strength. But no sooner had we gathered our courage than the darkness merged into a painful roar. "Brace yourselves," I yelled, wishing we had more time. But before anything else happened, another wave of darkness crashed over us, pulling me down to the ground. A shadow grabbed my ankle, dragging me away. I screamed, "No, we need each other." Just then, I heard a voice, a familiar voice cutting through the chaos. "Hold on." And I realized, while I fought to keep myself grounded, that this battle was only just beginning. The grip of shadow tightened around my ankle, dragging me away from the others. I clawed at the ground, desperate to hold onto anything solid, but the darkness was slick and relentless. "Don't let go," I shouted, my voice straining against the cacophony of cries and howls. "Help!" The girl's voice pierced through the noise, and I felt a surge of determination shoot through me. I needed to reach her. I couldn't let this thing take me, not now when I felt so close to something greater. With a sudden burst of energy, I yanked my leg free. The movement sent a shockwave of pain coursing through me, but I didn't have time to dwell on it. With one glance back, I saw the glowing figures still hard at work, rallying around one another to maintain the light that flickered precariously against the encroaching shadow. I sprinted back, heart pounding, focused on the warmth pooling within me. "We're not alone," I yelled again, hoping the reminder would kindle their spirits. Moments later, I felt the comforting grip of the girl's hand finding mine once more. I wasn't alone either. The shadows around us writhed violently, and a new sound echoed through the air, guttural and terrifying. I looked up just in time to see a mass of darkness shift and take form. It coalesced into a twisted version of a human figure, features indistinguishable, but its eyes glowed like smoldering embers. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just a shadow anymore. "Stand firm," I ordered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Use your light." I raised my free hand, channeling every bright moment I could recall. The laughter of our close friends, the way the sun felt warming our skin, the joy of being truly alive. "He's right," the woman with glowing energy replied, her voice a rallying cry, and she stepped boldly forward. Her light amplified mine, illuminating the area around us momentarily. The transformation was quick but beautiful, casting away the despair for a blink. But the shadow creature laughed, a terrible sound that vibrated through the air. It lunged at us, and I could feel the ground shake with its fury. "We can't let it in," I shouted again, fear creeping back. "Focus," the boy urged, his own light intensifying. "We have to push it back." I nodded, channeling everything I could. We all dug deep, channeling our memories of love and laughter, fueling our resolve. Slowly, the shadows began to retreat, pulling back from our radiance. But as we gained ground, a new horror unfolded. Behind the creature, I glimpsed an endless stretch of shadows merging together, an infinite abyss threatening to pour into our moment of light. "There's more," I shouted, panic creeping into my voice. "It's never ending." Just then, I saw something shift in the depths of the dark, a flicker, a glimmer. "Look," I shouted, pointing. I couldn't fully grasp it, but something significant was buried within the shadows, hidden away like a secret. Whatever it was, it felt important, and I knew we had to reach it. But the creature roared again, its attention fixated on me, and I could sense it preparing for one final strike. "We have to stand together now." The group's resolve shone brighter, the air crackling with energy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were running out of time. I peered into the darkness, feeling the pull of something beyond the shadows. There was a mystery there, something crucial that beckoned, tied to the whispers of the lost. "We can't just fight it. We need to uncover what's hidden," I declared, glancing back at the girl and the others. Their faces were taut with fear but ignited with a flicker of hope. "Focus on the light and let that lead you," the boy barked. We clasped hands tight, forming a chain of determination. Each of us needed to draw on our memories and shared experiences. "Think of the laughter, the warmth," I urged, loosening the grip fear had on my heart. The warmth radiated, igniting the stream of energy connected within our group. We pressed forward as a wave of pulsating light surged from us, pushing against the steamrolling darkness. The shadow figure shrieked, recoiling from our radiant warmth as if it feared the very essence of us, our humanity. "Let's find out what it's hiding," I shouted, my heart racing. The whispers intensified, the shadows swirling in chaotic patterns, and that's when I saw it. A blurred outline among the darkness, glimmering like a beacon hidden beneath layers of despair. I felt the collective trust of our group, their resolve infusing mine, and together we surged toward it, light emanating from our joined hands. I reached out, stretching my fingers toward the glow, ignoring the frigid, gnawing fear. "It's there. Keep going," I urged, fueled by urgency. As we drew closer, I could sense the unease grow beneath our feet, the ground trembling with the entity's fury, but we pressed on. Suddenly our chain began to fracture, one by one the lights flickering with fear as the shadow creature lashed out. "Stay strong!" I yelled, madly trying to hold us together as the darkness roared, tearing through the energy tethered between us. "Hold on to it!" The girl beside me squeezed my hand, her face resolute. I could see the fire in her eyes, the determination to not just survive, but to reclaim the hope trapped within this curse. The massive darkness that tried to pull us apart hissed, forming into grotesque shapes that clawed outward, with exaggerated motions. But I had an idea. "We need to channel it through," I said, confidence blooming amidst the chaos. "We can't just hold it off, we need everyone's strength, unite our memories." At once we all focused together, envisioning our brightest moments, our laughter, our joys, everything that made life worth living. The light surged even brighter, the shadows screeching against the onslaught. I could feel the energies intertwining. Not only our joy, but the pain of those lost within the darkness as they reached out to us. "Help us!" The whispers echoed once more, but this time they were less desperate. Those trapped souls, tethered to us by a slim filament of hope, drew closer, searching for their light. "Keep going! Don't stop!" I shouted, feeling the barrier of shadows shatter around us. One by one, we pulled the memories of the lost souls from the darkness, letting the light pull them into our fold. Then everything changed. With one massive strike, the dark figure lunged, but this time we stood united. The glow erupted, intertwining with something ancient, a source of light pulling us all toward each other as the shadows thrashed, losing ground. "This is it!" I called, pouring everything I had remaining into the radiant bulb of energy before me. "Aim for the heart of it." The boy's voice rang in my ears as I narrowly dodged another claw aimed for me. And with that, we all powered forward again, our hopes soaring, coiling around the entity, engulfing it completely. The air throbbed as our light surged, wrapping tighter around the figure until it shrieked, an otherworldly howl that echoed through the woods. The shadows swirled violently, struggling against their binding light, desperately reaching out for an escape. "We are not your prey," I yelled as the brightness combined, pushing hard against the darkness that encroached upon us. "Free them," the girl cried, and together we channeled every ounce of will into our light, forcing it out into the shadows that had consumed so many. It felt like eternity as we stood against the looming darkness, fingers clasped tight, a shield of warmth born from our collective strength. And slowly but surely, it began to evaporate, the edges fracturing, dispersing into nothingness. With one final surge, our combined hope fractured the shadow figure altogether, scattering it like dust in the wind. The air shifted swiftly, and silence enveloped the forest. My heart raced, pulses of disbelief coursing through me. Had we really done it? But as the light dimmed slightly, still simmering with energy amongst us, the chill of uncertainty lingered. In the depths of the shadow, the faintest whisper lingered, impossible to decipher. Maybe not all had been freed. I turned to the group, the girl, the boy, and the other figures around us, eyes meeting in a blend of confusion, relief, and doubt. We had managed to push back the darkness this once, but how many more were left, and what secrets were still bound by that malevolent force? Pressure still draped over me, settling in my bones. "Where do we go from here?" I whispered, glancing back into the tree line, half expecting to see another entity waiting for us. What had truly been conquered? "I don't know," the girl murmured, her face cast in shadow once more. "But whatever it is, we can face it together. We have to keep the light alive." As I stepped forward, I felt the warmth of our shared memory radiate along my limbs, recalling the girl's laughter, the light of nature all around. We will face whatever comes next, together. And somehow, despite the ambiguity of what lay ahead, we started forward into the fading twilight, our hands clasped tight, shadows by our sides, a reminder that together we could endure, yet always hinting that this fight was far from over.